What up, everybody? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Got the squad up in here. What's up, everyone? Robert, thanks for joining. Jake's future wife, finally on one of my streams. Let's go. Nasdaq. Luke, how's it going, man? Vishwa, good afternoon. Wherever you might be out there. I appreciate you guys being here for a little lunchtime action. Just give me a little second here. Gonna get myself oriented. See if we can't get this figured out here. All right. Ugh. How was our day? Hellboy, thanks for joining. Always lurking. Hey, gotta have some creepy action in the chat. Otherwise it wouldn't be the internet, right? All right. That music's not too loud, is it, guys? What's up, Raf? All right. Well, we're getting the move. I'm currently long. It's not through Tradeovate, so I can't show it here, but I did catch the overnight on ES. So I am still holding a last runner from down here at 50 or so. So I was hoping for the 100-pointer. We'll see. I don't think we get there. I think we might get up here to like 40 at best. But regardless, 90 points ES is nothing to sneeze at. So I have been pretty much hands off today, guys. Just managing that trade. I did put on a little put spread, thinking maybe if we got some acceleration down under 90, we could get sucked down to this 7350 kind of, or 75 ES strike, 7350 bleh, SPX. So we'll give it a little time here. Again, my name is Mitch. If you guys are new and you have never seen me on stream before, I've been on in the pre-market a few times. I am the resident Gamma Geek. I trade based off of market maker positioning to take ES directional trades and a lot of SPX options strategies. So, all that being said, I am kind of monitoring the situation, as they say. What I have on my screen here right now, guys, is the current positioning market makers hold. It has shifted quite a bit from the morning. So if you guys want to look at that and how I develop my plan, we can look at that as well. You'll have to tell me how interested you are in such a scenario. But my base case for now is we continue to hold this 90 strike and maybe get a little magnetism up here into this 74.15 to 20 on SPX, which is 45 or so. So if I was going to look at the current positions on the day, guys, and what my expectations are into the afternoon, this is our range. 15 to 45. All right. Anything under 90, you run the risk of getting sucked down, but I don't think that happens unless 75 becomes a factor. So you've got over 90 and you've got under 90, basically. This is your two ranges on the day. So if that makes sense to you guys, great. If not, I can go into more detail about it and the expected behaviors. But if we were looking just at the regular hours here today, and I'll go to like a 5-minute chart instead so you guys can see this a little bit better. Let's go find our drawings here. Lower range. God, that gets ugly if you go to a different time frame. I will note that for future reference. There's your ranges. You're either over 90 or you're under it. So if you guys have questions about what my plan was coming in on the day and you didn't see my stream, if you're not in the Discord and you didn't kind of get that pre-market plan, it was pretty much, I want to see us make the move from 7,400, test 90, or sorry, 15 of 74.15 clears. I'm looking for 7,400. If that clears, I think we get the bigger move up to 74.20. If you're wondering why we're not doing that very quickly, where this morning I was excited about a big explode up move, I will show you what has changed from the pre-market to now. Okay. The pre-market plan was the same, right? Here's our range, 25 to 90, 90 to 50. This big position here that we're currently grinding and chopping under essentially disappeared. Had we moved into that, the move through this thin positioning up to 74.25 is what I was looking for, right? What happened after the kind of opening 30 minutes to an hour is that position went away. So now we don't have the juice. Now they are selling futures against us. The higher we move up the ladder, the more futures they are selling. This is what is called positive gamma territory. It is mean reverting. It slows volatility down. Not just selling volatility, but buying volatility also. Some of you people out there might be wondering, well, the VIX is going up and we're moving up. Isn't that a sign of a reversal? Nah, man. That is a sign of positive gamma. The more they are selling the upside, there's volatility up the same way there is volatility down. But what you'll notice is it's a lot of green on the screen, right? Why aren't we selling more aggressively when the VIX is higher? Shouldn't we sell more aggressively when there's more volatility? Where's the volatility? If you can't sniff 75, you're not going anywhere. All of this is buffering you. It is buying dips. It is selling rips. So the higher we go, the slower we go to get there. The lower we go, obviously you need the volatility. If you can't even sniff 75, there's no real reason to move down to this big support at 50. Or sorry, 75 on ES. You guys can see this, right? Hopefully you can. But that is kind of the gist of what I look at. I look at expected behaviors to build that pre-market plan. As long as we're holding 90 into the afternoon, into the post-London close period, I like our chances for a slow grind up to maybe 74.20 at best. The reason for that, if you guys want to know why I believe in that slow grind, is A, we've already talked about positive gamma slowing things down, right? The other part of that is if they're selling against us and we're in the range, as the day moves on and we've only got a couple hours left, all those futures that they sold, they now have to buy back. Okay? So it's that magnetism. They sell, they push you away. They buy, they pull you back, right? So that is kind of the idea of positive gamma and drift, or what's called charm. So this is where knowing where the market makers are positioned and how big or how small and the regime of the market, right, as it relates to volatility and gamma, kind of tells you how things are expected to move. How far can we go? Is it going to be fast, big moves? Is it going to be slow, grindy moves? And I think you've seen lately, sell-offs don't accelerate very much. They kind of get stopped at a certain point. Why does that happen? If you looked at yesterday, why did we stop at 73.50? Because everything below spot was a bunch of this green, just like today. We couldn't even sell. And had we sold, we probably weren't going any lower than 75, right? So this is how I use that if-then framework to develop a plan on the day. So even for me right now, if we got another test of 90, I would have been looking to long that, right? But I'm already long. I'm not taking a new position. I'm long from way the fuck down here. 73.50 is where I'm at. I'm hoping for like a 90-point move at this point to maybe get up here to 74.40 into the close. Okay? So that is kind of my plan. We're holding 90. I'm looking for drifts higher. If we lose 90, I don't think we go very low unless we get a lot of volatility all of a sudden. So I would need to see us breaking into this 80-75 strike to expect a sell down, because there is some ammo there. But again, time is a factor. If you're not in these positions, you're not getting the volatility assistance, because they just aren't activated, let's say, right? They just want to keep grinding you up. All those sold, or all those puts that people bought down here thinking they were getting horny for a sell, if they can't monetize those puts, what's the only way to close a short? Got to buy the underlying back, right? Same thing. Market makers are buying futures for those customer short positions they hold as we move higher. So it just kind of naturally pulls the ladder up behind you. So hopefully I've thoroughly confused everybody. If you joined a little late, thanks for joining. I see we've got some more people here. My name is Mitch. Hey, Victoria, thanks for joining. Some familiar names here. Yeah, so like that is kind of the crux of my strategy. If you don't want to understand the ins and outs, the whys, the hows, that's fine. I think if you just looked at the plans and said, if we're over 90, expect to go higher. If we're under 90, expect to drift lower or just chop around it. You can build a whole day's worth of action off of that one plan, right? Yeah, Violet, it's new for a lot of people. It's something they don't ever think about, especially if you're used to just trading price action, right? If you're just looking at a chart, it's really easy to see what I'm talking about and be like, holy shit, what is all that? That's some crazy make-believe stuff. I'm of the opinion, if there's any ICT traders in here, if I hear a turtle soup and a displacement and this and that, you can easily pick this up. The terminology isn't the problem. It's the underlying, understanding the underlying is the most important thing. Hey, Chicago, the name of the indicator is, I think I call it position map. It's just my personal indicator. I can't actually share it with anybody because the information that it's derived from is from a paid data service. So unfortunately, it is not free on TradingView. If you guys want this information, I can give you a few vendor names. And basically the way that you see it on my chart is how it looks in their platform. Never seen a setup like this before. I test cloud. Yeah, I mean this is something different, right? It's new to a lot of people. Like I said, if you're just joining and you don't know what I'm showing on my screen or what I do and how I trade price action around the structure, the option structure of SPX and how that influences the ES futures market. Yeah, no problem, DS. Hopefully that made sense to you. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I know I'm only here for an hour, so my time is a little limited. Again, my plan for the afternoon is monitoring how we react around this 73.90. It could end up being a really shit, uneventful afternoon, guys, because in this environment, if you're not going anywhere and you're going sideways, the thing that prices in the market move, the straddle, that kind of tells you approximately how much the market thinks it's going to move through the rest of the day, the more that number comes down, the less of a range you're going to see, right? So the risk on the day is selling under 73.90 aggressively. On SPX. So 74.15 is kind of your line in the sand for the afternoon. So if you get under 74.15, essentially what that's telling you is you introduce the idea of volatility back into the market, because everything under 73.90 is essentially gas in the tank for the direction the market is moving and where the stronger flow is, right? So if that starts happening and we get under this strike here and SPX is under 73.90, what that would tell you is you are much more sensitive to volatility in this range. If you get into it and that volatility keeps up and the selling pressure expands, market makers now are suddenly moving with you in that direction. They're no longer supporting you the way that they are if you're holding 73.90, right? Market makers aren't passively buying futures to kind of keep things up. So what I would expect right now is, even though I drew this bigger range up here that we could move into, right, is I'm expecting us to just get chopped to death right in here. The only way we're exploding up and over 7,400 is if we get some juice, right? And once we're over that strike, then I would expect us to fill this range and go test higher. The problem is if you don't get that action, all of this stuff up here is just going to keep selling and the ceiling is just getting lower, right? The room that you're in is getting smaller and smaller. And then you can't really stretch your legs anymore. You just end up pinning somewhere. So what normally happens, guys, in positive gamma environments, which is what we're in today, is you see this kind of behavior. You see this grindy, choppy, mean reverting. You just keep coming back to a number. It's no coincidence that 73.90 seems to be the through point of all this price action, right? If I draw a line through that strike right now, or 74.15 on ES, let's say, it's pretty much the mid-range of where we're at, right? 74.20, about 7 points here. You got about 7 points here. It's the middle of that range for a reason. Okay, so that's the balance on the day. So you can even see the shape of everything on my chart kind of points at that area, right? If I drew an arrow and said, if I'm not over something, or if I'm over something, where does it want to find me? And if I'm below something else, where does it kind of want to point, right? I'm stuck in this range right now. So obviously we're pulling back to that at the moment. So you could take a couple of trades here. Yeah, kind of like a point of control if you want to think of it that way. If you're a volume profile person, you could probably think of it the same way, right? Actually, let's do that. If you're a volume person, you could look at this range on the day so far. Obviously, that's a little skewed, right? But if you looked at ES over like the entirety of the pre-market to now, I'm sure it would actually be closer to here. But the fact remains, this is kind of like the most important strike on the day. It's why I drew my plan that way. You're either over it or you're under it, right? So my plan for the afternoon is monitoring what we do around 90. The reason why I'm still holding my ES long is because I've got no reason to sell this. We're not flirting with 75 down here on SPX or 7400 on ES. That would give me a little concern that maybe we come back to this big balance down here, right? Because if you're over it, there's no real concern. The only thing that would concern me is if we're under 75 on SPX or 7400 on ES. Then I can get kind of horny for the downside, right? Maybe another 25 points. But that's not my current plan. We're in an uptrend, we're breaking out. My expectation is we either grind around here or we make the break higher, right? So I think I actually took on some cheap 25Ks to copy trade and mess around with. So let's see if I can throw a long on from here. Let me just look at something. See if I can pull this onto my trading view chart. I can have a tight stop on this because 90 is the strike I do not want to lose. See if I can pull this over here for you guys. Gotta give me a second here. Interesting. I guess we won't show you today, but just trust me. We'll just take a little speculative long, so just assume. Let's do our little risk to reward thing here. This is how I define my risks on these trades. So this would be like a 4.5R return if we actually get the long up there, right? So it's really easy for me to say if then. Logan, if you want to learn this, you can join our Discord. I have a channel where I kind of discuss my strategy there, if you so choose. Here, use this one. If you do that, you will see my pre-market updates. You will get, like intraday updates as well. As far as like any options trades I'm taking around my futures trades there. Not selling it to you, but like that's where you can learn from me. Otherwise, whatever stream I'm on, whether it's this period or the pre-market, some days I'll go over this structure literally every day. If you want to know the specifics of Gamma and the Greeks around how these options positions are hedged by market makers, that can all be covered. But if you want to check out, let me see here. I think my Instagram, if you want to follow me there, we've got some stuff we can cover there as well, if you want to give me a follow. But if you guys are just joining, thank you so much for joining. My name is Mitch. I am a former mastermind student with Rake. I was mastermind 15, and that kind of started my trading journey and got me started on the path. And once I was on it for a while and had some big success, I kind of started scratching the itch about the why of the market. Why does it behave this way? Why are certain levels stronger than others? And the more I delved into it and understood market structure, especially for ES and SPX, the more I got into the idea of market maker positioning to inform how I trade. So what is on my screen, if you are confused by this, no surprise, these bars basically represent what are market makers holding and how. And if we know that, we then know how price should react, at certain places, right? So for me, I know this is kind of hard to see. I'll move it over to this side here. I know that's more than a 2 R to R. Let me get this dialed in here. There you go. So for me, I would be comfortable taking a long in this anywhere in this range, assuming it doesn't go any lower than like 74.07, let's say. And the reason for that is I know that because of these green bars, market makers are buying futures to support spot and not let it go any lower. That's just their mandatory reaction for how they are holding options right now. So the idea is they're going to passively buy and support me here. So if the market pushes through that, I will take it as a sign. But my expectation is I'm willing to put risk on as long as we're holding this 74.15 area on ES. And then the resistance is here because they're selling against me. But once I get on the other side of this, I would expect to go fill that little range up to 74.40 and 45. That is how I trade this. So in the morning, I knew that if we cleared this strike down here at 7,400, they're short there. That means if we push through that, they are going to buy with momentum, with force to get us back higher. So if you guys were looking this morning, and I know Jake was kind of like, oh, ES isn't really doing the thing because NQ is so strong right off the bat. The reason why I would have been buying dips here is the same reason. It's risk below, but the rest of the market being strong and knowing that if we're not selling through here, even though we have every reason to think if the selling pressure was strong, it would send us down to 73.75. If we clear this, it's going to assist the move higher. And I was looking for these strikes to basically say, if we get over 90 or 74.15, I want 25, and 25 can send me higher, right? There's this range. So if you guys just joined, you didn't see this earlier, the entire plan for me from the pre-market was predicated on the idea that if we cover 90, we have a chance, 15, we have a chance of 74.45. And if we stay below that into the afternoon, then I'm looking for us to go all the way down to 73.50. But we would need volatility to do it. So 74.15 on ES is the line in the sand for me. Yeah, John, I love to hear that, man. Thank you so much for watching those streams and winning that giveaway. And that's what we want to see. We want to see you guys taking advantage of those opportunities, whether that's knowledge here, asking questions, looking at our different trading styles, finding something that actually like jives with you. Obviously, we all trade slightly differently, right? Jake trades bigger size for bigger moves. Ron is a little more conservative like me in some cases. Alan, is looking for 1 to 2 R trades more often than not, but he's trading the price action levels, EMAs, right? Ron is more in line with the raked system. Pure price action and levels. Christian does ICT concepts. So, if you're here, hopefully there's something for everybody. Yeah, appreciate that, Robert. If you guys like what you're seeing so far, if you want to support the Rake Trades Network, get more of us on for more hours of the day, these different time periods, make sure you like and subscribe. Use that thumbs up button there. All right. I know this was kind of an impromptu stream on a Friday, so probably hard for a first stream for the lunch hour, but hopefully if this is something you guys want to see, if it's a time you like to trade, if you want to know how the last couple hours are shaping up from my perspective, this is where you can be for that. And again, this is a little slower day, guys. This is like the expectation is a grindy chop to nowhere around the 74.15 kind of strike into the afternoon with the chance to run it up higher, okay? But I do expect it to be really grindy, choppy, and slow. That's kind of the base expectation for me is we're either going to finish here, maybe slightly lower under this balance, like 80 or the 74.05-ish would kind of get my next vote if we did lose 73.90 and didn't really sell off with any verve, no real strong selling or volatility. But I want some skin in the game to see if we actually get that extension higher. So I'm looking for like this 74.40 to 45 on ES as a potential high point on the day. So we'll see what we get. The fact we're kind of doing this grindy chop to nowhere is like the least surprising thing to me based on what I look at and what I know. What's up, Adam? Yeah, thanks for joining. I know this is probably a surprise to some people. They don't know what I do or how I do it, but for the most part, you are seeing the sauce. Logan, no, this indicator is just a custom thing. If you want that information, you want the market maker positioning, that data, you're going to have to pay for it somewhere. So if you're like an unusual whales person, they have Periscope. There's a vendor that's kind of interesting that also incorporates the market maker stuff on SPX alongside like individual name stuff like Unusual Whales does, where you can see the gamma profile and positioning across like individual names, which is a little different. It's called Skylit AI. I think my Instagram has a link there to that. You've got Gamma Edge, you've got Spot Gamma, you've got Options Depth is a great one. They're running a pretty good deal right now. It's like $200 a month or so. You've got VS3D, which is what I use. I used to use Options Depth. I just love VS3D. It's quick. But again, I don't actually use the platform except to pull the data from it to get it into my indicator here. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. If you guys have questions on that kind of stuff, DM me on Instagram. I linked to it up above a little bit, I think. And you guys can like ping me there and I can kind of answer questions on the different platforms in more detail. But yeah, that's kind of the framework that I use, the base of my framework. So that is how I'm doing things. But if you guys are here, I see we kind of keep having some people coming in a little late. My name is Mitch. I am your current lunchtime host here on the Rake Trades Network with Project 365. So if you guys are intrigued by what you see on the screen, this is how I trade, what I look at. It is based on market maker positioning. So when you guys hear about market makers and the infamous, market makers are not running your stops. They don't care about you at all. They just care about their position that they hold. And then they buy and sell futures based on those positions. So if you have that information at your fingertips, if you ascribed that value the same way that I do, it kind of helps you understand like why do certain moves go really fast and why do certain moves go really slow. And this is a big part of that. If they're holding billions and billions and billions of dollars of options and they have to hedge it with hundreds and hundreds of minis on ES, kind of makes it move, right? They don't dictate anything, they just react. And if you know how they should react based on what kind of positions they hold, are they long or are they short, it makes a big difference for having an edge in the market at certain areas, right? So if you guys are here and you're familiar with Rake's levels, if we're looking at what he's got on the chart for ES today, we can see that 73.75 was a very important level, right? If you were wanting to long off that level, you would be using the momentum of the market makers to ramp off of that level, right? There's a reason why, with a little buying pressure, with a buy signal, this thing took off, right? Had we sold under this, you would have also been able to understand why it was highly unlikely we were getting down to 73.55 level. right? Because there was monster market makers long right there buying futures to prevent that from happening, or happening very quickly anyway. So if you use the level system and you pair it with this information, you will understand why on certain days and times we will bounce even on a big sell from one level, but go right through another one, right? So that is what kind of got me interested in this market maker positioning was, why does that level get a reaction but not this kind of reaction, right? So pairing that to me was confluence. Brian, that's where I would just tell you, you guys can Google gamma, right? And you will find all manner of videos breaking it down. You're going to get the hardcore math geek version talking about Black-Scholes options methods, and then you're going to get somebody else doing it more generically, right? If I'm here on this YouTube stream, I've only got so much time I can talk to you about it. I would be happy to explain it to you guys, right? It's just how in-depth do you want to go, and what is your level of being able to grasp it? If you are a new trader and you are just trying to get started trading futures on a prop firm, I wouldn't bother with this until you have a better grasp of just basic price action, right? So to me, again, the big thing about this is once I was established and I took the mastermind course, I had really strong success with just that. Just price action, multi-time frame analysis, trading off the levels, monitoring the opening print, things like that, right? But what took me to the next level personally was pairing this information with that. I was able to develop a stronger if-then plan for myself that I really liked. That was essentially, if this happens, then this should happen. If it doesn't, take it as a sign, look for this instead, right? So whole plan today, if we're going to go over that so you guys can understand it, these little bubbles that I had here were kind of the ranges on the day for me I was interested in, right? There was, if we clear 75 on SPX or 7,400 on ES, I expect us to test 15. If we cover 15, I want to test 25. If we cover 25, I think it's all systems go to 40, 45. Okay. RE318, absolutely not. Not related at all. Completely different things. Volume is like a backwards looking measure of what's already happened. The market maker positionings is that, but also a forward looking measure in knowing what the reactions are. So, but yeah, the big thing about the plan, guys, is if then. If we don't cover and hold 90 into the afternoon, then I'm looking for chop back into this range with the potential to sell aggressively under 7,400 back to 73.75. So to that end, I'm long futures, right? If I was long just from the open, a trade that I put on as we got to that target up here at 74.25 this morning, if you were in the Discord, you probably saw the alert. I want downside protection. I'm going to take a put or a put spread in case we get some volatility and sell back down to this big balance. That way I can just hold this long and say I'm positioned for this to keep going. But just in case the if then fails, I want something on for the other side, right? Hey, Miggy, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, guys, if you're here, I see we've got quite a few new people. My name is Mitch. I'm with the Rake Trades Network. I am a Project 365 host. I am the resident Gamma Geek. I am the options Greeks kind of nerd in the group. I trade ES futures and SPX options based off of market maker positioning and price action, and watch for the reactions or the expected behavior to form a plan and make my trades. So if you guys saw me on Instagram, if you've seen anything in the Discord, you'll know that I am a two-way trader. I am only committed to something if I see it playing out the way that I planned for it. And if that changes, I have a plan for that more often than not. So today, the big thing was watching this price. If we ever rejected 73.90 from underneath strongly, I would take a short position, whether it was ES, MES, or SPX. Sometimes I'll even trade NQ if they're moving closely together, right? And I would have been shorting from here, looking for, if I just draw it with the tool, I would have been risking, you know, either 10 points or probably if I was playing for the rejection, about 5 points. And I would have been looking for 73.75 because I know that if we sold into this strike again, market makers would accelerate that selling if the momentum was strong, and we are more likely to stop down here. So I would have been looking to capture a 5R trade potentially. And that was, I had that plan from the morning. If we cover 70 or this 7400 and we test 15 and reject it strongly, I'm looking for a short from there on tight risk back to here with the possibility of going down here. So the same way this morning, even on Jake's stream, I think when he was thinking about taking ES long, I said, if you guys were in there, you saw me say, I want 15 to 25 to 40, 45. The difference between earlier versus now is what you see on the screen. If I show you guys the pre-market, the reason why that was more attractive is for the same reason shorting 75 is attractive and why I was buying dips. Market makers were long from here. That told me any kind of a dip down would need so much volatility and there was so much strength in the broader market in NQ. Any short was an entry. And I would have been targeting, knowing that they would have been buying with me, the momentum would have been with me to this test at 15. And the same thing here at 74.25. Had we pushed through this with some juice, we would have rocketed up to 50. So if you guys are wondering, like, why was that in his plan in the morning, but not so much now as much? Not so much now as much. Anyway, you get it, right? Is because that positioning changed after the London close, which started about here when we first rejected and ended about right here when we rejected again, is because the positions changed. This is now a resistance until it's not. My expectation is still, I want risk onto the upside because if we clear that, I think we can get to 40 or 45. And there's other dynamics about knowing this stuff with options, right? If market makers are long, they've been selling against us all day up here. All of these have been selling futures, right? They sell above us, they buy below us if it's green. So the same reason we haven't sold under 90 is the same reason we haven't moved over 7,400. They're selling above us, they're buying below us. We're stuck in this tight, shitty, choppy range right now. But if we get on the other side of 7,400, that then becomes more buying support and allows us to make this move higher. And the more that they sold futures earlier, and the closer we get to the end of the day, do you know what they have to do? They have to now buy futures back. So every minute we get closer to the end of the day, and the closer we are to these strikes up here, they are actually going to like push and pull, push and pull. So now we're going to be in this range instead of this tight little shitty one here. But only if we're on the other side of 74.25. Right? So I'm hoping that makes sense to you guys. If you're new, if you're interested in this stuff, this is what allows me to trade simply. If, then, unless. Hold their position since there's no decay. There is decay. Every options contract decays. It's either getting more in the money or less. The delta is either growing to 1 or it's growing to 0, right? It's either appreciating or depreciating. There is no such thing as decay. Futures is what they are hedging those positions with. So I know it's really confusing, guys, and I don't want to get in the weeds and turn a bunch of people off on this, but like if you're interested, this is the why behind the how I trade and how I formulate the plan, right? So yeah, again, into the end of the day here, I fully expect us, if we're holding over 90 and we break, if we're holding over 74.15 and we somehow get the break over 74.25, there is every reason to think we can extend that much higher. So like 74.15 on SPX, 74.20 on SPX correlates to 40.45. That would be like my prime target. If I could pick a best case scenario for me on the day, it's getting another 20 20 points from here, right? 25 maybe. So having risk on from here, my risk is tight. If we come down into this 15, I'm risking like 5 points. If you're a little more, if you're trading MES on smaller size, you could give yourself a 10-point stop. And then what you're looking for is like, do we get a bunch of VIX volatility? Like, are things like really ramping up? And if they are, then you're only worried about 7,400. Because if you sell through that, what do you know about this range? There's really not a lot down here until 73.75. So your risk is all about this 73.90 on SPX, 74.15 on ES. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Batista, sorry guys, I want to make sure I get to your questions here. I don't have a whole lot of time left because we want to give Christian a little time to get settled in at 1 o'clock. So I think I'll be wrapping it up right about 12:30 or shortly after. But as far as what gamma program, I use VS3D, and then I take that information and I put it into this custom indicator on TradingView. But any of the gamma providers, any of the market maker gamma-based providers are going to have views like this on their dashboard in their platforms. All right. Let's see. Thanks, Alexa. I appreciate it. Can they just hold their... Kakarov, yeah, I know that's you, man. I recognize the name, buddy. Paul says, I used to trade zero-date options using ES1000 tick chart with volume profiles. Is this similar to this system here? I think that volume profile is similar in the sense of like you're seeing like where things are kind of concentrated. What's interesting to me about this is like if you're a bookmap person, you'd probably say the same thing, in that if you know like where you should be seeing certain reactions, like for instance, we know that market makers are holding a fuck ton of options. So if they are persistently selling against us, you'd probably see that passively every 5 minutes. You're going to see like the same size hitting that strike over and over. You would probably see like at 74.25 right now, you would probably be seeing, let's look. Right now, what time is it? 12:10. You would probably be expecting about 300 minis every 5 minutes being sold at the current 7,400 strike. That is how much minis the market makers have to sell at that current price to hedge the total size that they're holding. So they're holding $8 billion worth of SPX contracts and delta that they have to hedge. So they're selling 300 something minis every 5 minutes, as long as we're right there. Or yeah, that could just be Ron, swinging his big dick around, taking his profits, right? So this is meant to be a PG-13 chat. So apologies, earmuffs, for any of you offended by that. How I read these pockets and zones is big green, strong support buying, where red shows selling, trying to understand it. Adam, it's really the most simple I can make this. Red means momentum, green means slow. So depending on the direction, red is going with the momentum, green is slowing the momentum. So if you've got green above you, the more of it you have there, the harder it is to get through, the more you grind and chop, right? So let's look at the chart. What is above us? What do you see more of on the chart right now? It's a lot of green, right? What did I just tell you? At this strike alone, at 74.25, right? They're selling like 400 minis almost, just passively. That doesn't count the rest of the market doing what they're doing. That's just market makers. So if there's not enough strength to pop over that, it's no surprise that we're just kind of grinding and chopping, right? So if you ever hear someone say we're in a positive gamma regime and volatility is relatively low, this is the price action we used to get, guys, before the market went nuts, right? We were stuck in like 30-point ranges on ES, and people complain about garbage price action. That is why. When you have billions and billions and billions of dollars on either side of you, you're stuck in a range, right? It's tiny, and then it just gets smaller as the day goes on. That's what this is. That's what you're seeing. And someone's going, but Mitch, VIX is going up as spot price goes up. The higher we go, the higher VIX goes. Aren't we going to sell off? No. Volatility goes both directions, people. There's volatility as you move up, and there's volatility as you move down. VIX is not the thing that you think it is. It's just saying that as we go up, there is volatility. People are selling volatility above us. They're buying it above us. They're buying volatility if we make a move down. They're buying puts. They're selling puts. They're buying calls. They're selling calls. The higher we go, the higher that's going to be until you reach a little bit of normalcy with skew. Skew is wildly out of step right now. Anyway, let me see here, Batista. I'll give you a hand. There you go. But that is the whole thing here, guys, with as far as like the green and red bars. That's the way to think about it. Red, if you're selling into red, it's gas on the pedal. If you're buying through the red or you're on the other side of it, it is now supporting the momentum. So just to bring it back to the morning, the whole thing about the morning, if we look at the morning position versus what's happening right now, all of that green was below us, which means support until it's not. And the only way that changes is if there's a lot of volatility and a lot of big selling. That's a fuck ton of green. But if we bought through this position and there's small green between it and the next one, it stands to reason you're going to get some pretty quick movement because they're buying with you. And would you look at those bars? Pretty much straight up, right? But why are we going nowhere from here? Why didn't that red bar turn into something? Oh, because after London close, it turned into a green bar. And now we are literally bouncing around between a 10-point range, going absolutely nowhere. Okay? So I hope that kind of narrows it down for you guys and you understand that like it is actually really simple. There are other things that you could think about. There are more advanced things at play, but for the most part, it could not be more simple, right? If there's a lot of green above you, you're going to go slower, but it can be a magnet. You can just keep on moving up. That's why I'm saying I'm looking for 74.40 into the afternoon if we finally clear 25, right? But if we go under, there's risk, but only if there's some like really strong volatility to push through this one to get down here, right? So if we lose 90 and volatility is ramping and it's really strong selling pressure and we start dabbling into this 7,400 area, 7,450 and 7,400, then I would expect a 75 finish, right? But I think that would be ignoring the broader strength in the market. And it would be really dumb of me to like take that short right now because I don't even know that you get to 7,400. There's every possibility that as long as you're holding over 7,405 even, you're probably going to finish higher or just sideways. So I would say to me, time is kind of running out. The closer we get to the end of the day, the more this stuff is going to weigh down on us and kind of be like, you don't have enough time left, man. And it's all kind of decaying down to try to find a balance where these two things meet. So if you do get stuck under 7,400, you're probably going to get right there because look at everything else, right? As long as you're over it, it's trying to find where there's a balance on the day. And even on this graph, you can kind of see it gets a little lighter here, stronger here, stronger here. It's like I said, that vice grip is getting tighter and tighter, right? It's just grinding us into nothing. So the straddle that the options pricing is based off of to say like what's in range right now is literally 14 points. It is telling you right now that there is only 14 points of range the market is pricing in. So when I say time is running out for us to get going higher, that's what I mean. We've got to get that break to like price in that higher range. But if we do, there's every reason to think that we kind of just get sucked up to that 74.40 spot on ES. Do I manually correlate the ES/SPX price? It's like 25 points. I have it built into my indicator here, so that's why you see the SPX price on the bar, because I'm on the ES chart. Yeah, I know it seems really confusing at first, but if you just distill it down, if you don't want to understand the underlying framework, guys, it is pretty much the opposite in your mind, right? Like, red means go in a way. But like if it's above you, it's resistance until it's support, in the same way that green is resistance, but it becomes support. Red is not really support. Red is supportive as you move, but if you reject and there's a bunch of red below you, that's like I said, this is the window of risk, right? Why do I have a put spread on right now? Just in case. Because if we happen to get some strong selling, that's a lot of gas in the tank, and I don't have a real pit stop until 73.75, right? Big Austin, you know, I try, man. Consider it like an extends pill at the gas station. Killer Trades, you want to know more about this stuff? Just follow the channel, man. Whenever I'm on here, I'll be talking about this. Follow my Instagram, join the Discord. I talk about this and my strategies all day long. But if you want books, there are many. But I would probably, depending on how you are, the books are going to be like super geek, math heavy. I found it, personally anyway, I found it much simpler to grasp graphically, visually speaking. The thing that actually helped me, guys, is this. I'll flip it this way. If I had a ball, right? And I was a guy, or a boulder, let's say, and I was literally like pushing it up a mountain, right? Here's my ball, and this is the mountaintop. If I got up here and that ball was sitting here and I had enough strength to shove it on the other side of the mountain, what do you think is going to happen? That ball is going to pick up a lot of momentum until it gets to the next mountaintop. And if it does, this mountain has a lot more speed with it because I've got all the momentum behind me and then all this new momentum. And then I go to the next mountaintop. And if I fail there, where am I going to come back to? The balance, right? So I don't know if that made sense to anybody else, but that's kind of what initially got me interested in this view, was like, oh, if I can clear that mountain peak, holy shit, I got a big hill I can roll down. And the more of that red that's on the other side of the mountain, even more momentum, right? So that's kind of the way that I got it. That's what finally made it click for me. The math came second. The visual nature of it is where the math met the visual, and then I was like, oh, the light switch really came on. I already got the math, but I needed the visualization piece to understand it better. So yeah. Non-X, I feel like I covered that just now, so sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat. I hope I'm not missing too much here. So I'm on the ES chart, Macy, and then the bars, I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen, you guys can't see that. The 7400 is referencing the SPX price, yes. Yeah, Matterman, I appreciate you getting it, and hopefully this is helpful, and I'll be on more often. You guys can ask more questions on this. Yeah, Luke, I do think a lot of people, it is a slowly but surely kind of a thing, where it just, you get the basics, you form a plan behind it, or even if you looked at this, guys, from like a confluence standpoint, and you're taking like individual names and you're looking at relative strength and relative weakness. I don't know if I want to buy that name that's heavily weighted in the S&P. I kind of want to watch SPX at this price. I kind of want to watch ES at this price and what it's doing. What's the more important level? Having this information is going to tell you where the acceleration parts are. So like the thing that I love the most, especially for options and also for futures, is the idea of convexity. Where do I have the most room to roam? If I'm a trend trader and I want to know how much room I can actually move, I'm looking for these bigger ranges, and I'm looking for those if-then statements to figure out what is the key strike, where should I be trimming for safety, where does the dynamic risk change for me based on what I see. So this is kind of a moment of truth here, guys. If we get through this 74.25, I think it'll be coming in short order higher. So we'll see what we get. And I am long. I'm long 2 minis. I know you guys can't see it because I couldn't log in on Tradeovate, but I'm in 2 minis on some fresh evals copy trading across 5 accounts. So we might end up getting the nice pop and pass on those evals. Yeah, Big Austin. That's exactly the visual I have, is like pushing that boulder up the mountain. All right, guys, I'm probably going to be calling it quits here in just a few minutes because we do have Christian coming up soon, and I do not want to step on his toes and give him a little time. So I think next week, if we do this again, we'll probably just keep the stream open the whole time, and I'll just run right into his slot. So we'll have to see how that goes. No killer trades. This is not Bookmap. This is just market maker positioning. So if you look at any service out there, Skylit is a vendor. Batista, I've got a link in my Instagram for them if you want to join them there. They also do the individual names too. So if you want to see this kind of stuff on individual stocks, they do that as well. That's more of a naive GEX, they call it, but it still applies for those individual names. FOMO on Dell. Yeah, there's FOMO on a lot of tech names, guys. I actually think we might get some levered ETF buying into the afternoon on the Qs. I think they, because we're up such a high percent on a lot of those individual names, let's just look. Let me see percent change. Oh yeah. We're up 2% on the Qs today. SPY is up almost 1%. I think on the Qs in particular, there could be some like last hour of the day really strong buying. That's going to happen regardless of where we are, but in general, those are good things to keep an eye on. Yeah, no problem, Jessica. Thanks for attending. You too, Paul. You too, Luke. Yeah, the melt up is crazy, but when you understand kind of like what's behind it, it's like a snake eating its own tail, right? The more that people are selling the upside synthetically, all that does is act like a magnet. Because the same people that are selling that, as we move up, they have to keep buying too. When you sell covered calls, right, what do you have to do if it moves against you, right? If you're trying to bank on premium by selling the call and then price moves into it, you're forced to buy, right? And that's kind of what you keep seeing here. And then you've got inverse ETFs, you've got levered ETFs who have to do like 3 times multipliers. So by the end of the day, if the index moves up 2 or 3%, they actually mechanically have to buy billions of dollars to make sure that they're balanced. I think that's what you're seeing a lot of right now. And if some people are in offsides and they don't own enough of the sector, like semiconductors, I've been telling Ron for a few weeks now, I'm long semis, I'm long energy, and I'm short SPX in the future. Because those two things can keep going up if the index pulls back. So, anyway. Any other questions, guys? Like I said, we're coming up on time here, so I want to make sure I get to anything you guys might have. Later, Robert. Yeah, I appreciate that, Adam. I know I in my mind, I kind of, not to say anybody's dumb, but I have to like find a way to communicate what I know in the simplest way for people who are just new to it or new to trading in general. But I think the if-then mapping from a decision-making standpoint and having a trade plan is applicable regardless of where you are in your trading journey. If you're someone who struggles with jumping into a trade and not being patient for it to come back to a level, I can tell you definitively, patience is like one of the single biggest separators from a profitable trader and a not profitable one. If you're so worried about missing the move that you had a plan for because you weren't patient enough and you chased, and then you ended up getting the pullback that stops you out and it got back to that spot anyway, but you lost so much you're now scared to take a risk, right? Had you been patient, the entry came to you. You need to let the market come to you and what you planned for. If you didn't plan for it and you take a trade on it, you're introducing more risk than just whatever risk you put on financially speaking, right? Like you now are kind of flying blind. You didn't have a plan for this. Now you're reacting. Your emotions are heightened. If you don't have a plan first, you probably shouldn't be trading it, right? Ranji's not dumb. The man knows. He knows things. He knows a lot. He knows who I am. Yeah, Paul, the scalper mindset is just something completely different. You got to know your animal. You got to know how you're trading, what your system says, and so on. So I do think it would benefit more people if they actually implemented more of an actual structured plan. You can have a bias coming into the day. You can say, you know what, I'm long because we're in a trend across multiple time frames and blah blah blah. Me, while I learned that and I ascribe to it broadly speaking, I trade both ways because I have a plan, right? I have things that I am looking for, deterministic, if, then, unless. If I didn't plan that way and I didn't trade that way, I would reduce my potential trades on the day by 50% probably, right? Because I was so stuck to one thesis. But I'm also not holding a short on a day when I don't think the range is much bigger than like 15 points or 10 points. I'll be happy to get out at 10 points and then I'll look to pivot long. Like I did that the other day on one of the streams, one of Jake's streams I was in the chat for. I was holding my ES runners short. I really got spot to a place where I was like, I want to long from here because I had a plan for that. If it comes back here and this happens, I want to long. So what did I do? I longed NQ instead. And I held my ES runners and just took a tighter stop. But I could only do that two-way trading because I had the if-then plan. If I didn't have that, I would have missed out on one of those trades. The NQ long actually was more profitable than the MES short. So anyway, guys, yeah, we're coming up on time here. Again, I'm just going to say my name is Mitch. I thank you so much for joining us here. If you guys want to support the channel, if you're going to trade with props, use code RT or code RAKE. I'm personally in some Tradeify accounts right now. Love what they've got going there. I know that the Grand Cup is coming up. I'm going to participate in that, so hopefully see you there. Otherwise, we got Christian Lamelli coming up, the Power Hour Goat here. Scalper's Delight from 1 to 3 my time, 2 to 4 Eastern. I think he's Pacific, actually, but he's tuning in from Costa Rica. I have no clue what that time zone is. So stick around for him. Support the channel. For an impromptu stream, I got to say, I appreciate you guys for being here on such short notice for a new slot. Hopefully this is something we can do more of moving forward. If you guys are interested, show out, show up, hit the like button and the subscribe button if you can. And yeah, you guys have a good weekend, and we will see you on Jake and Ron's stream Sunday night. And we'll see what the market holds for next week. And if you guys want, I'm just going to do one last shout. Excuse me. Too much talking. If you guys want to join us in the Discord, excuse me, the premium discount is going away. I saw Jake just posted that. So if you want to follow along with me in my trades, if you want to learn what I do, there's Ron in there. There's other people. The mastermind program is there if you want to learn that system. If you want the rake levels indicator, that is all there. So if you guys want to go, please let me know. Batista, hit me up in my Instagram and I will get you the right link, all right? That should be working though. And if it's not, I will find one that does. But hit me up on Instagram. Just DM me there and I will get it to you, Batista, so you get that discount, okay? And my Instagram, really quickly, is this. Have a good weekend, Robert, Luke. Thank you guys so much. Paul, I'm a gooner. Hope that doesn't turn you off. Big Arsenal fan, but please pray for me in the Champions League. All right, guys. We are going to leave it there. Stick around for Christian Lamelli starting here in about 30 minutes. All right. Thanks, Miggy. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Batista, make sure to hit me up. I'll get you sorted out, all right? Have a great weekend, guys.